What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for April 5th, 2021. We got a bit of a slow week again, but 313 is on the PTU for Wave 1 backers. We'll go through the notes on that a little bit, as well as we got an update on Refuel and Repair, and Invictus is on the way. That was the big deal last year. Will it be again this year? So if this is your first week in review, it's where I take all of the official Star Citizen news coming out of CIG and then bundling it into one video on Mondays and inserting my opinions in there as well. So if you like the video, make sure you hit the like button, as that really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you haven't checked out my live stream, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, every day but Monday, so I can get this video out to you starting at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time. All right, let's jump right into the patch notes. We had 313 go to Wave 1, and I talked a bit about what was going to be in Wave 1 last week, so I just want to quickly touch on the big things, but then a little bit more on things that you may not have known. So hull visual degradation, one of those big ticket items that came in, quote unquote big ticket items, where ships will look more dirty as you use them until you repair them. So if you ever repair them or claim them, they'll come back as new. Vehicle names, obviously you can customize a few names of ships, but serial numbers will be shown for everything else that you can't customize yet. Reputation is just a UI implementation for this patch. And everything that we talked about above are simply steps for systems that will get Star Citizen looking more like a game sometime in the future, but certainly not now. Overall, these were like kind of the big ticket items, and these were sort of underwhelming. And the entire 313 patch as a whole feels pretty underwhelming overall. Object push and pull. Most of us have seen the trolleys, but if you want to find them, they are at cargo decks or in underground facilities. So you can't buy them right now, it seems like, so you'll just have to go and find them. Same with the mounted guns. Again, pretty simple. They're at junk sites or underground facilities if you want to try them out. Ships and vehicles, we saw the Cyclone MT come in, but then the Gladius update. This video on Reddit shows how much has changed, and it's changed quite a bit. Ramp collision is better for object push and pull, and they removed access to turrets in the Mull and Carrack when they're in landing mode because they have issues with landing while people are in turrets, as well as going in and out of hangars. What else? We had the Star Runner, the Talon, and the Talon Shrike, Nomad as well, all be added to in-game shops. So they're keeping up with that trend of the previous patch. It is for sale for real money. The next major patch release that comes out, those ships that were for sale the previous patch will now be available for in-game purchase. So the fear of missing out, guys, doesn't exist. You just got to wait a little bit. 3 months, and you can have your ship for in-game credits. It seems to be a consistent trend now. FPS missions in caves, they have 3 types. Assassination, which is the unlawful, bounty missions, and clear everyone out. Pretty simple stuff there. Basically adding what we saw at the bunkers to caves. Degnus route, harvestable. This was mentioned previously in, I think, a sprint report. I've seen if you eat some of the harvestables, you'll gain health. It's possible that this has something to do with that as well, because these are supposed to be in healing recipes for, I guess, other healing mechanics in the game. So I want to investigate that. I'll let you know what happens when I find it. SDF shields. These were meant to improve issues with shield holes, but there's an issue right now where if you fly fast, the shields literally just fall off the ships. So hopefully this issue is resolved before live, because that basically makes SDF shields irrelevant, which is really sad. Mining components. For me, I've done testing with this pretty extensively, I think about 8 to 10 hours, and they're completely pointless for solo players at the moment, which most miners are. So even the inert reducing modules don't make much sense, because you just scoop in 100% stuff and you're fine. I can see these being used in groups or in the Mull, of course, with a group though. But all of the passive modules, unless there's stats that are not being listed, which I suspect might be the case, because I've seen some incredible reduction in the amount of time it takes to mine a rock, as in it takes really long with certain components on, then that kind of might make some sense, because how they explain it in the excerpt right here is that some components will make it easier to mine, but it'll take longer. Some components will make it faster to mine, but it'll be more difficult. So I'm not really seeing that right now with my testing, but we'll have to see. I'm definitely going to provide some feedback on these. Law system improvements. Big ticket here is for bounty hunters. There's quite a few updates to bounty tracking. So if a criminal buys something, their bounty marker is updated. If they keep their mobi-glass open for too long, their bounty marker is updated, as well as if they kill other players or AI, and if they die themselves without going to jail. So those are all things that are going to update their bounty and create this feeling of tracking the bounty that you're looking for. Also, we saw quantum sensitive and timed deliveries. These are the first two updates to deliveries that we've seen since the changes in 3.11, I believe. So quite some time since we've seen anything. I hear some people saying these might be good routes for pirates to jump, but obviously that's still a little bit early to tell. Med pen changes. You now have to press C to pull the pen out and then click to use it. User folder changes. This is the last thing for the patch notes, is they've changed the user folder location, and it's listed here on the screen. So you just have to, if you notice your bindings are all gone, you have to put them in the proper folder, in the new folder, and they should be working. For video updates, we had a calling all devs, and that was for refueling and repair. To start out with refueling, the first thing they talked about was what the initial implementation might look like, because that's important. Basically, the reason why is because the initial implementation is usually what we end up playing with for a long period of time.
So I'll try to take you through a bit how this works. Players will be able to go to a station, and using the Refuel Rearm Stock UI that will need to get redone for this, because it was very simplistic and was only doing little things. They'll be able to fill up their Starfarer with either hydrogen fuel or quantum fuel. They'll be able to also equip their Starfarer with various tanks that are made they're purposely made for quantum fuel or hydrogen fuel, and then they'll have a UI to select how much they want in tank 5, how much they want in tank 3, which type of fuel, stuff like this. Once that part gets done, they'll pretty much have to fly and find a guy in need, find a guy that has run out of fuel, didn't check his fuel meter, and made a bit of a mistake.
I think the big thing here is that you're not scooping any gas into your Starfarer and refining it. You're just purchasing it from a station, and this was a big letdown for me. The Starfarer was probably the first ship that I really had those like imagined moments of going to a gas cloud or a gas giant and scooping fuel, refining it, and selling it to other players or selling it to stations or whatever. And that is not going to be in the initial implementation, which is quite disappointing. But there were positives. So different tanks were pretty cool. The UI update to just general refueling, repair, rearm is going to be a thing that comes when refueling is there. So yeah, those are all really good and positive things. I don't want to just, kind of dwell on the negative there. How will I contact someone that will refuel me?
So for a tier 0, we're kind of looking right now at the players using chat, good old chat, and going like, dude, I ran out of fuel. Is anyone with a Starfarer here that can help me? Or, hey, I have a lot of fuel. Anyone needs it? And you guys meet, you form a group, you meet the old-fashioned way. In the future, we're thinking of using the beacon system to actually create a beacon. Hey guys, I need fuel. We could do this at the beginning, but it'll just take us longer to release, and it could be a separate part that comes in later. So we thought we'd rather get fuel out to the players, refueling out to the players as fast as possible, and then we're gonna do the part where you actually have a way to contract fuel being brought to you, or I'm selling, I need buyers, basically.
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this. There's probably going to be quite a bit of trolling, but a system that is in and you can provide feedback for is way better than no system at all. So the faster they get it in, the better, and then we can add the beacon system to it later. I think that's totally fine. They mentioned the new UI docking will be used. Will there be any skill involved with this mechanic?
There's two ways you can mess up refueling. First of all, if your pilot is crap, he will collide with the ship he's trying to refueling. He will hit it with the arm. There's so many things that can go here. He will either damage the arm or damage the ship or damage the Starfarer. The other part where it can go wrong, if you're trying to do it faster, as in speed up the process of once the ships are connected and you don't know what you're doing, you either that nozzle can either burst, it can eject fuel into space, it can ignite, it can cause a lot of problems. We're also looking now as a higher tier of how to store more fuel. So you might actually want to you might not want to fill up your tanks all the way to the max and high pressure, especially if you're going into hot areas, unless you have a tank that is made for those high temperatures. So there will be certain conditions in which if you have a highly pressurized tank, yeah, you will refuel faster. But if you enter a hot zone, that fuel is going to start to, the pressure starts increasing, that fuel becomes unstable. You might blow your ship up.
So there seems to be quite a lot that could go wrong, which is pretty cool. And it's very Star Citizen-like to always have to have your hands on the controls rather than just pressing a button. So that's a good thing to hear. On top of that, applying stuff like this to the heat and cold systems that are like on our characters to the tanks is a neat idea as well, although most of that is not planned for the initial release. Moving on, they had a little repair section as well. I'm only going to take one clip from that as Johnny really sums up what repair and salvage tier 0 are going to be.
It's the kind of like the first version of salvage that we're actually doing. So what we're calling it internally is it's more like hull stripping. So you're actually going up to ships and vehicles and you're either stripping away parts of the hull, which lowers its health, it's like its integrity essentially. Visually as well, because it uses the V2 damage map, or that's what we're intending to do. Basically burns it away, takes that material away and stores it in the canister, even if that's on the, the multi-tool has a material canister, and the larger dedicated salvage tool that we're going to be doing has an even bigger one, so you can store even more of that stuff. And basically, yeah, you can either strip away from the hull, or you can use that material, or you can buy full canisters of material to come and use that as a repair resource as well. So if your ship takes a few hits in combat, you'll be able to pop out cockpit, EVA over to it, get your repair tool out, and kind of fill it in. If you come across, the idea is at least if you come across something like a derelict and your ship's damaged and you don't have any repair resource, you could strip away some of that ship and spray it onto yours. So it's not going to be 100% like, oh, I've just, sprayed this magical, metal substance into the ship again, and it looks like it's brand new. It's going to look a little bit more battle scarred. And the idea is we want to use a different material on that to show, like, look, you've patched this up yourself. It doesn't look like a pristine ship anymore. If you want it to get back to its pristine state and 100% health again, then you're gonna have to take it back to a shop to get someone to properly repair it for you.
All of this is what we've heard before. So, that does confirm that the system will also only start with hand tools, not ships. So, they touch on the need for this also being related to the health system, which is not part of this clip. The fact that we don't just want to die and respawn. There's been videos on the health system that I've done, as well as, just kind of taking excerpts from Star Citizen, but we don't know what of the initial release will be necessarily. So in the coming months, I expect as we approach 3.14, we're going to hear a lot more on that and just why we don't want to die like we currently are quick to now in Star Citizen. So moving on to other updates, really short one here. We had a sneak peek just letting us know that Invictus is coming in hot. I'm curious if the Ninetales event is going to be part of this. If not, I'm kind of fine with that as well. I don't think events like these, which are mostly like sale things, necessarily need a lot of dev involvement into them, unless that dev involvement was similar to like Invictus last week, where ships were quantuming in and out, which ended up being part of Xenothreat, right? So things like that, if they're building off of stuff, I'm totally cool with it, but we'll have to see what this event entails this year. Just looking forward to seeing it. And then merch updates, an $80 backpack and a $30 t-shirt Feel free if you guys are into it. I will not be purchasing any of these though. And lastly, a lore post, which was based around kind of the Nautilus, which we see mines are scheduled later in the year in the roadmap. So maybe a little bit of foreshadowing there. So guys, there was also April Fool's this week. Lastly, there was a pretty funny video about the 404i, which was invisible. But if you really look at it, it may be this 400i that has been kind of shared around a little bit. So just with no visual that you can see of it, because there were some engines and things like that. It had a size, so you can maybe determine that there is something to this that is more than just an April Fool's joke. So guys, that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and leave a comment below on anything that we discussed today. Specifically, like, what do you guys think about 313? I'm pretty bummed out by it, and I'm not looking forward to the 3 months waiting for 314, which has a lot more meat to it. But in general, pretty standard early year patch, but I just wish we got some more bug fixes out of it. So thanks guys. I will see you guys next time.